Hey, Darby.
Hi, Heather.
Oh no, I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, I guess that'll have to do. We had talked about 2 o'clock, so I was here at two.
You know what I think happened probably with the time difference.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Can you share your
Yep, I got on and practiced earlier, just to make
Okay,
sure.
good.
Give me 1 second, because it's not up.
Is there a way to stop the recording?
I don't think so. All right, there's that. Good.
Perfect.
All right. I have an eye issue going on.
I have a neck issue going on. I had to come home. I can't move.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's pretty awful, but it's all good.
Yeah.
Dog. I mean, I can move, but it's excruciatingly painful.
Hold on a
Um,
second. I'm gonna try to fix my speaker.
I can hear you now, but okay.
Well, so it's coming through my CPU on the floor, so it's hard for me to hear. So hold on a second. Well, it's not changing, so it's just gonna have to be what it is.
Alrighty.
Okay. Should I share it now, or do you want people to check in first?
That's up to you. Doesn't matter. I would probably, I don't know if Christy's gonna be on or not. Where'd you go? Um, I don't know if Christy will be on or not,
Okay.
but I'll introduce. If swipe up my screen, what do you see? Anything?
No.
Did I go away?
No.
Oh, okay. So then I'll read a little bit of your bio and introduce the topic,
Okay.
and then turn it over to you. And then um there's 23 people registered, so
Okay.
we'll see how many show up. It's sometimes it's pretty interactive, sometimes it's not. I try to jump in there every once in a while, just on the off chance, just to kind of uh create some dialogue.
Okay.
Yeah. So
How are
uh,
things in your office?
oh my goodness, crazy. Last week was nuts.
Yeah, I bet.
I don't really know why. I mean, I don't think it had. We had two kids. One jam a screwdriver or something into the lock of a boot. to try to get it off. And one decided he didn't want it on there anymore, so he just cut them off with no thought process that it was criminally illegal to do. So, gotta love craziness.
Well, those frontal lobes aren't fully cooked, so
I don't know how long it takes anymore, those frontal lobes. I don't know that 24 is the right answer.
yeah, no. For boys, if they have ADHD, it's like 28.
Oh,
Yeah. And if you're cutting locks off and you have a boot, it's likely you probably do have ADHD, so.
you have something. Yeah. That kid just didn't care. He had no, it was almost like we were wasting his time to be talking to him. It was, it was a bizarrely frustrating interaction.
Yeah, that's weird.
I don't know. This generation, the longer they go, the more kind of confusing they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's not a, it's almost a sense of propriety is just not there.
Hmm.
I think it's more of a, I'm me and I do what I want type deal.
Maybe. Some of them are totally afraid. Like, one of my stepdaughters didn't know she wasn't supposed to park in front of a driveway and got towed, but, like, had no idea that that was a thing.
Really?
Yeah. It's no idea.
Blocking somebody else's entrance and exit doesn't have a thought process? Interesting. Hmm.
It was in a residential area. I guess it was kind of hard to tell that it was a driveway. I don't know.
Huh. Hard telling.
She also totaled one of my cars, so.
That could just be bad driver.
Really could be. Absolutely.
I'm working at the North Pole Experience, you know, the
Oh, good for you.
Christmas thing that runs out of Little America.
My kid applied, but like they never got back to him. And he's done it before. I don't know what happened.
From what I can tell, um, it's not a bad thing from what I can tell. It's an interesting, well, maybe because I'm older and probably, if not the one of the oldest people, and I'm probably the oldest person working that's not a supervisor type deal. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And it's not very organized. I mean,
No.
thing starts on tomorrow night is their soft opening, which I guess they invite hotel people. They just put out schedules yesterday for this weekend, which is, I don't know. Sundays isn't even out. I'm working on Friday,
Wow.
3 to 10, which is fine. Um, and yeah, Sundays isn't even out yet. So,
Wow.
and there's a lot of sullen teenagers that work there. I was talking to one at a training we were at on Saturday, and she just was walking by me. I said a couple different things to her, and she just looked at me like, and I thought, wow, huh. One kid was sitting had sat by me for some of the stuff. He was pretty chatty, you know, just pleasant and um, you know, nothing monumental, just where you what area do you work in and you know,
Yeah.
pleasantry type deal. But the girl, I held the door and I said, "Oh my gosh, it's really cold in here, I think." And she just looked at me like I had three heads, and I thought, hmm,
Maybe she was wearing AirPods.
could have been. No, she wasn't, but it there's a lot of high school students. A lot of high school students. Um and I think they just kind of follow. They don't seem to ask a ton of questions. Do you know what I mean? Whereas I'm asking a million. That could be because I'm old and haven't applied or worked another job in 25 years. So maybe I feel out of my element. I feel untrained. I feel unprepared. Do you know what I mean? And I don't, it's a lot of technology based stuff. So all of the applications, the schedules, everything is on this app.
Mm,
They're right in their element. So maybe they don't need to ask questions.
yeah.
Whereas I need to understand it and I don't. So that's maybe I'm the pain. Maybe it's me because they just kind of go about their life and
Yeah, they're definitely versed in technology.
yeah, there's a plus there
Yeah. And a minus.
and a minus
Hmm.
because they're versed in technology, but they're not tons of versed in social
Yeah.
skills. Well, not the same, I guess.
Not the
Probably
same. Correct.
right word.
It's really funny. I read this article. I think it was written by like a younger millennial, and it was like about how they spent the election night, and they were talking about how important it is to like have actual interactions with people, and they were emphasizing it, and I'm like, oh, this wasn't written for my generation. Like, we do that. Like this, you don't need to tell me how important it is. I know.
Right?
Yeah.
We had a friend of ours. Her husband's from Mexico, and she posted some rant on Facebook about any of you that voted for Trump, unfriend me because my husband's from Mexico and blah blah blah. And I was like, holy cow.
It's a lot. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
But at the same time, people have been your friends for 100 years, and nobody cares that your husband's from Mexico, whether they voted for Trump or not. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I thought it was just an interesting.
It is. It's a high emotion outcome.
Yeah,
It would have been either way, honestly.
100%.
Yeah.
Ugh. Um, if you go for an hour, that's great. If you don't, that's okay too. Do you know what I
Okay.
mean?
I have fun stuff to talk about.
You usually do.
A little bit of breathing, a little bit of stress reduction. You know my shtick.
I do. If you could fix my neck, that would be fabulous.
I don't have those kinds of skills. Sorry,
Oh,
Darby.
heavens, I wish somebody did. We've got 4 participants in there. We've got Nick Nicholas, who's on the board, Nick Romo,
Hi,
Nicholas.
Nick.
Hey there.
So we got a few more minutes, I think.
Okay.
Hi, Nick.
How's it going, everyone? Oh, that Nick. Nice.
Two
Either of
Nicks.
Nice.
there's I didn't specify so that it works.
It's really a great name.
Yeah, I mean, usually you can't have two Nicks in the same meeting, but I think we'll make it work. We'll make it happen.
I mean, do you ever have two Nicks with two Nicks for names?
True. It's true. That is the
No.
thing.
Yeah, I think that's what saves us.
Like almost three Nicks.
Yeah.
You could think of it that way. For sure.
Yeah.
Ow. I'm gonna be muted. That hurts. Oh.
Don't hurt yourself, Darby.
Ah. Do you know once any of you starts using Zoom, will this platform work for other meetings?
You talking to me? No.
Yeah.
Oh, say again?
Do you know when any of you stops using Zoom, if this platform will continue to work for other?
Oh, I don't. So we'll still have Zoom, I think, but only the HIPAA compliant one.
Oh.
And all of our groups will probably be on Teams from here on out.
Yay.
Yeah. I mean, there is like a free version of Zoom online that everybody can have, you know.
Hi, Maria.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Recovering.
Yeah.
Yeah, busy 2 weeks.
That's a good thing. We've got some other people joining.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. I told
Perfect.
Darby, like, my speaker just stopped working, and so now sound is coming out of my CPU below my feet. So it's turned up to 100.
Yeah, here you too. I don't know what it is.
I will say we'll be training for tomorrow as well, so we're good on our end. Thank you.
Hopefully get some mute going on.
I have that power.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there you go. They got it. We're good. That's awesome. We've got 13 people, so we'll wait just another minute or so, and then we'll get started if everybody's amenable to that. That phone number left, so hopefully they call back in. I think let's just get started, and
Okay.
people join, we'll get going. So welcome everyone to our November webinar. We have got Heather Nash. She is with Northern Arizona University. She is the director, director of our Employee Assistance and Wellness office, which is a fantastic office we've got on campus. Heather's a licensed clinical psychologist who works with children, adolescents, and adults across various settings prior to joining EAW in 2018. She engages therapy, crisis management, organizational consulting, and wellness trainings and workshops, in addition to a ton of administrative duties. Heather works to manage her own stress by staying active outdoors with her dog, enjoying time with friends and family, and traveling the world. That would be pretty awesome, actually. So our webinar topic is remaining sane while managing a changing workforce. Our workforces are becoming more diverse, multi-generational. Supervisors find it managing people's most stressful part of positions usually. I mean, that's an age-old thing, I would imagine. And then Heather's going to talk about how to look at key concerns and difficulties of supervising a younger workforce, as well as strategies for navigating potential conflicts, supporting supervisees' needs while managing business needs. I guess on the converse to that, you could be an older person in the workforce that is reporting to one of these. So I guess we could also need to think about it from the flip side. So I am going to mute myself and turn it over. This is an interactive webinar, just so everyone knows. I'm Darby with the Board of Directors for Southwest Parking too, by the way. I should have said that from the beginning. If you have questions, stop. Heather typically puts some Q&A time in there or does some
Mm-hmm.
stuff you need to get involved in while she's talking. And then, yeah, Heather, take it away.
Thanks, Darby. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to work with you guys on this and see what we can learn today, all of us, including me. I also manage millennials, and I am Gen Z, so it is a different experience for me. Okay, so we're going to talk today about you guys remaining sane and me while we're managing a changing workforce. And I will check the chat and stop for questions along the way as well. Today we're hoping to learn a little bit about how to build, create, and maintain a highly diverse work staff and why that's important. Understand conflict resolution, mental health and work-life balance for all levels of the work unit, and identify and implement business needs with needs as a supervisor and needs of your support staff. So really your own work-life balance. A Venn diagram. What can't we do with a Venn diagram? But I do feel like this is an important graphic for you guys to think about. You know, managers do lots of things, and I think they fall in a couple of buckets really on a day-to-day basis. Managing daily operations and functions of your department, managing your staff, and managing yourselves. And I know that doesn't seem like probably as big of a job, but honestly, in my line of work, we see it as a pretty essential part of your job duties. All right, so let's talk a little bit about managing daily operations, just a little bit, because this is what you guys, this is the easy part of your job, right? So as managers, we all have set of operations performed in our departments. Such operations require, or by our departments, such operations require money. A lot of you are dealing with budgets and trying to get funds to do what you need to do. Equipment, purchasing and maintenance and all the things. Collaborative services with other agencies, stakeholders, grant, suppliers, administrative offices from other parts of your administrating body. Functional leadership, just trying to strategically plan, do the things that you need to do as a leader as well, and then appropriate and effective staffing and managing all that. I see it, management of operations requires a specific skill set, and there's lots of skills, but these are kind of the core ones that I see: planning, organizing, sequencing, prioritizing, communicating about facts, intentions, and outcomes with respect to all the things you need to get done, and then execution and follow through of tasks. Any others that you guys think are like a huge part of your daily operations that I didn't put in there?
I would say for us would be customer service.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Yep.
Because, that can kind of change all the rest of that stuff. So
Yeah.
For us, it would be operations includes customer service for everything and everyone.
Yeah, good. Thanks, Darby. Okay. Well, I want to talk a little bit about the changing workforce because it is changing. As of the second quarter of 2024, there were 18% of the U.S. labor force was Gen Z, 36% millennials, and they overtook Gen X and boomers in the late 2000s or 2010s. Gen X is about a third, baby boomers 15%, and the silent generation, most of them are retired at this point, 1%. And the breakdown by race and ethnicity, white, which includes white, Hispanic, and Latino, is 76.5%, Black or African American, 12.8%, Asian, 6.9%, Hispanic or Latino, 18.8%. I think other was around 3%. And those don't add up to 100 because sometimes people identify as more than one. And there are some benefits for diversity in the workplace. Research has looked at this, and diversity with respect to generational, span can help with innovation. Diversity in all kinds improves decision making. People with different backgrounds have different ideas, and we can have more information and maybe varied opinions about things and help us reach the best decision. Diversity powers global expansion. It improves financial performance of organizations, and it attracts better talent. And people from diverse backgrounds want to work for companies where they believe that they won't be alone. There will be people that are just like them in the job place, and that they'll be happy there. And one kind of assurance of that is having people who already work there who are from diverse backgrounds who are happy working there. The changing workforce is changing with respect to mental health as well. Overall, 75% of US employees report high rates of work stress, negatively impacting sleep. 60% are reporting an impact on relationships. And other stuff that I've looked at, it's not necessarily interactions with supervisors that impacts other relationships. It's actually interactions with other coworkers that they find stressful often, and that will impact relationships at home. Gen Z employees and millennials report poorer overall work health scores than other generations, with 71% of Gen Z employees and 59% of millennials having an unhealthy work health score, compared to 52% of Gen X and 42% of baby boomers having that unhealthy work score. Psychologically safe working environments can act as protective factors for employees' mental health, and especially with respect to encouraging clear and transparent communication and investing in developing fair and supportive people managers. Okay, so those are kind of two ideas that I'll be talking a little bit more about today. Clear and transparent communication, and becoming and being a fair and supportive people manager. I just want to go back really quick. Does that number surprise anybody? That 75% of workers are reporting that stress in the workplace is impacting their sleep negatively? Or that Gen X or Gen Z and millennials are having a little bit harder time at work from a mental health perspective? No, it does seem high, doesn't it?
What makes up a work score? Just out of curiosity.
They ask questions about, like, do you feel supported at work? Do you feel safe? Is it impacting sleep, relationships, things like that? Like, are you having positive or negative interactions at work, and is that impacting you and the rest of your life in any way, shape, or form in a negative way? Yeah, I thought it was a little high, although I will say I have lost sleep over work. So if someone asked me that question, the answer would be yes.
Yeah, I could say that I'm not surprised by that number, because after COVID, that time that some of us were at home, some of us weren't, but coming back and having to deal with people again, I think that has made a big impact on the workforce. And I don't necessarily think it's certain generations, but I think there are some generations that have suffered more, like even in high school seniors, but last year and last year, where they started high school online, and so they didn't have to deal with the face-to-face classes, and they had all those challenges. And so now that they're graduating, it's a different impact because they missed those couple, year and a half, 2 years for some, to be out of school, but doing it remotely. I think that's the same thing for our workforce also. And then because, like, in the parking aspect, I think that our enforcement officers, I know there's been a big uptick, about 75% also, and calls against other people. And so because of that, it's created more work for our enforcement officers, and they are getting like overworked because there's just so many calls coming in for service regarding neighbors against neighbor things.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's stressful.
I also think there's different variables involved. Like the baby boomers, back then didn't have to maybe deal with emails and all the different variables. They just had phone calls and their work, paperwork. Now we have emails, have the laptop, carry it with us, meetings. And so just more on the average worker's plate than before to raise those stress levels is what I would attribute that to. Just with
Yeah.
the moving times, it's not just fax machines anymore. It's a wide variety of ways to communicate. And then remembering all that, all the passwords, all that stuff can be tough and stressful, as we all know.
Nick, have you lost sleep over passwords?
I have because now it's like 10 plus characters
Yeah.
with two different variables, and you can't use what you used last year, and it's just like, oh man.
Yeah. Actually, you're better off with 15.
Yeah, exactly. But even
Yeah.
then, to think of 15 and then to remember all 15, that's a
Yeah.
little stressful.
I know. It
I'm
is
tossing
stressful.
and turning.
And then I think about this too, like watching Mad Men, and it really was true. Like, baby boomers and silent generation were boozing it up at work and smoking in their offices, and
They had stress relievers handy. We have to wait till we get home.
we don't have that stuff anymore. So, yeah. Okay, thanks, you guys. All right, so here's our second bubble from the Venn diagram, and that's managing people. So in addition to operations, we manage people, and this changing workforce means changing priorities, right? So the average time that a millennial or Z will spend in any given position is 3.2 years. 3.2 years, which is the lowest that it's ever been. And means that, there's a lot of reasons for that. Oh yeah, thank you, Marjorie. There's a lot of reasons for that, but one is that Zs and millennials do look at work opportunities as an opportunity for professional development and a stepping stone to their next thing. So they're looking to kind of gain some skills and professional development in any given work situation. Millennials and Zs are also more values driven with respect to work generally as groups. They're looking for organizations who have values that are consistent with their own, for example, with respect to environmental issues. They tend to value work-life balance a little bit more than, Gen X and baby boomers. And they really prefer flexible work schedules and/or flexible work environments. And I think, to Maria's point, probably that comes a lot out of the pandemic. And another important priority for them is clear and consistent communication from supervisors. And so when I'm thinking about how to supervise people, I'm trying to keep these things in mind, which we'll circle back to them. Managerial skills have changed then, and it highlights again the need for fair and supportive people managers who focus on empowerment of their workers, coach for development and succession planning. How are we going to move you on to the next thing? Promote and support work-life balance, and that includes mental health needs, and engage in clear and transparent communication. That focus on purpose-driven work is really important, and then peppering it with positive feedback, which, Gen X and baby boomers didn't need as much. But this is a changing workforce. So let's talk about empowering your workforce. Just some ideas, can be anonymous or part of meetings, but structured is best, so we don't get into those, like where it spirals out of control. And it could be, empowering your people to make those impactful organizational changes. Could be some aspect of the organization that aligns with their values and isn't like I guess it's not directly going to impact negatively your business. Maybe we get their feedback on environmental policies that they feel would be adoptable by the organization, and not too heavy of a lift, or DEI policies that aren't too much to adopt, not costly in person power or financial power. Technology changes that might be more efficient or effective, wellness initiatives to keep people healthy, or various procedures that could be made more efficient, automated. There's all kinds of things that we can do differently. And, as someone who supervises younger people, that is a focus of our office often, which is, how can we automate this system, or how can we make this process more efficient or more effective? Empowering your people to take care of their own needs, taking PTO preventatively instead of after the fact when bad things are happening because they haven't been taking care of themselves, encouraging them to take it preventatively. And I'm going to say, if you guys are supervisors, that means modeling it and taking your own PTO. Encouraging people to apply for workplace accommodations if they have some challenges. And one of the tools that I really love is the Job Accommodation Network. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, Jan. It's really cool. You can put in any mental health diagnosis or any functional area where they might, or any problem they might be having. You can search for it, and there will be a list of potential accommodations that you can think about making for that person. And they're usually not, usually don't interfere with business as usual. And then, if possible, choosing from available options for job flexibility. Our university has a flexible workplace policy. Not all do, I know, and not all jobs are flexible. If you are a bus driver, obviously you can't work remotely. That's going to be an on-campus job only. But maybe there is some wiggle room with respect to schedule flexibility. Professional and skills development. 2022 Deloitte Global Gen Z and Millennial Survey found that 29% of millennials and Gen Z workers chose to work for their current organizations due to learning and development opportunities. And this is what I'm saying, these workers are kind of shopping around for self-improvement through jobs. This is what they're looking for, is opportunities to improve their skill set, improve their professional skills set. And with this as a priority for workers, some things you can think about, what investment is made by your organization for professional development. Is there a platform that you subscribe to? Our university has Udemy that everybody can utilize to learn about just about anything, honestly. Is there a professional development budget? Is there a tuition reimbursement program? Are there scholarships available? What is it what investment is the organization making in professional development? And what investment is made in professional development at the individual level? Do employees have dedicated time for professional development? Do they have individualized plans for professional development? Which is actually one of the recommendations that a number of agencies made. Make sure everybody has a plan for professional development if that's a priority for them. Make sure that you're supportive and you know what that is. And then our supervisors acting as coaches with constructive, consistent feedback about particular areas for development and change that emphasize that purpose-driven work. It's not just about what they think they need in the workplace, but Darby and I were talking about earlier social skills and just like basic social skills, just interacting with people. Well, there certainly are ways that we can improve a person's social skills. And you as a coach might notice that someone's social skills need a little bit of propping up. And so how do we have conversations about, suggestions for, I don't know, what do you call it? Customer service interaction, or, interacting with coworkers or supervisors, or improving your social well-being. I mean, there's ways to say it that aren't like, hey, I think your social skills are terrible. I think you should get some training around that, you know. We can use other terms. How do you guys talk about professional development in your organizations? I'm just curious. Is there funding? Is there time? Is there an interest?
So for my area, and I run a parking garage for several parking garages and surface lots for the city of Albuquerque. And we also have enforcement. We also have barricading and traffic control under us.
Okay.
So we have a variety of different things. So about 90% of my current workforce, have started at a temporary agency and were hired on through the city. So we got to basically try before we buy kind of situation.
Yeah,
And
that's
I think,
nice.
yeah, and I think that it works very well, because you kind of, people can do interviews and they can say what they want to say, but when they start working for you, you really see what they are and how they behave and how they take on the different challenges that we're faced with in our area. And so that really helped. And obviously you can't do temporary services for everything, but it does help with cost as far as it's just it's a minimal cost versus hiring someone and then putting them in a position and then them not having the skill set that they said they had or the willingness to be trained to learn the job. And so, again, they can say it in an interview, but what they can really do is in another situation. And I think that really helped us and has led to good things. So, and of course, not everyone gets to get a promotion within, but we do have some that have left our division and went into other city areas or departments because they took the time and the opportunity to do the in-house trainings and apply themselves in different things. We do have educational leave that the city offers. And then as far as schedules, if I'm able to adjust their schedule for school or something, or attend a class, then I'll do so. So I
Mm,
think that just
that's a good
investing in
point.
them and them taking the time to invest in themselves and it being a partnership of investing in themselves and in us investing in them has led to great development in our area.
Yeah, thanks, Maria. That's a good point. That when you're hiring students, being really flexible with respect to their class schedule can make that job more attractive to them as well.
We do a lot of consistent ongoing training. We do mandatory training in both the fall and the spring. Well, you've been to one of them, but some of it, from what I can tell, the students are not afraid of AI. They're not afraid of computers. They learn all of that stuff quite quickly, and they usually figure out better ways to use it than what we were doing before. What we struggle with in our area is coachability. A lot of the time is they're not afraid to tell you about mental health. They're not afraid to tell you they've been derailed because the medication they've been on since they were 10 stopped working and now they're using something different. So from that aspect, it's good because mental health for a long time was a taboo, or putting your needs first was not. The students that we hire are not afraid to do that. But at the same time, we have a business need. So we have to kind of manage what they're going through with a business need. And that's a little bit trickier than, we've got to develop their skills to be able to succeed in a workforce. And that's a constant, consistent, and ever developing thing that we're trying to do with our staff through constant training, conversations, communications, and all the things that you have to do to kind of get them ready, especially if they're freshmen and it's their first job.
Mm. Yeah, thanks, Darby. And we're going to circle back to the mental health issue too and talk a little bit more about that. Probably a lot more, actually. Okay, so the next task for us is promoting and supporting work-life balance. I think work-life balance goals are good. You don't have to make them up. Have them tell you what they need or what they think will work, or you can negotiate, but have them kind of initiate goals for work-life balance. Encourage taking breaks consistent with your organizational policies. Maybe there's group walks, 10-minute walk or 15-minute walk. Maybe the break room is a little bit more attractive than it used to be. Maybe we discourage lunchtime meetings just to get people actually taking those breaks and not working through breaks and then getting burnt out. If you can encourage deep work, periods, that's great, where there's no, like, a couple of our departments on campus do no meeting Tuesdays or no meeting Friday mornings or whatever. And that's when they can get their deep work done. And sometimes, they have permission not to answer emails or phone calls unless they're emergencies as well, so they can get some actual work done without distraction. Using meetings really wisely. This is we've done a lot of trainings on campus, and this is a pet peeve of a lot of people. No agenda. My time is wasted. What did we accomplish? There's no actionable items when we walk out the room. I didn't have any say in what we're going to talk about. That's one thing we can do is just, get an agenda going, send it out ahead of time, ask for feedback on it, stick to it, and then allowing remote access for meetings. There aren't very many meetings that really need to be done in person all the time. So that's something to consider as well. Less travel time for people, and it's kind of a concession that's easy to make. Create a safe environment to express concerns. This can be difficult, like if someone says, I think what you're doing sucks, and you spend a lot of time doing it, that's not easy to hear, right? But if you can communicate openness and gratitude for sharing, you don't have to make any changes, but you can think about it. Responding quickly and respectfully to issues that people raise as much as you can. Maybe collect feedback anonymously if you have like a suggestion box or, some way for them to make suggestions or give feedback about supervisors or coworkers. Can be really helpful. Offering time management training can be really helpful, especially for people who work in administrative positions, and automating processes whenever possible. We talked about clarifying work-life balance expectations, maybe in the PMP manual, like use your PTO so that you don't get burnt out. That'd be great. And then getting to know your employees and their needs. Everybody has different needs, just kind of like what Darby was talking about. People just have different experiences and different backgrounds and different medical and mental health needs. And if you know them a little bit, you can see like maybe they're getting kind of wound up one day. Maybe this is a good day to take, a couple hours of PTO to go exercise at the gym or whatever they need to do to kind of work through that, manage their stress. Providing clear and transparent communication is another part of this approach. Just working on building trust with your staff. Feedback should be timely and calm, and we're going to talk about managing your own stuff so you can have calm conversations with people. Millennials and Gen Zs both prefer in person, which I know sounds weird considering like they're so technologically savvy and don't actually hang out with friends a lot, Gen Zs in particular, but they do prefer in-person feedback, and Zs more than millennials even. If you're going to ask a question about like, why did you do the thing or what's going on here, try to be curious about the responses. One cool thing about curiosity is that it moves brain activation from the stress part of our brain, the amygdala, whereas, fear and anxiety and stress reside, to our right prefrontal cortex, which is where we can feel positive emotions and work on problem solving. It's our best bet for problem solving. And so if you can get curious, that's one way to kind of calm yourself down and move brain activation from, fear or anxiety to problem solving. Being really clear about your communication. I have a hard time with this sometimes. I want to be nice, but honest is kind, actually. It's hard when people don't know what you're saying to them. And if you're not clear, they don't know what you're expecting. And so it's important to be really clear about what you're talking about. Constructive is always received better than critical. well, that was dumb. Not as helpful as, there were some consequences associated with that action, and, next time here's something different you could do to avoid those consequences. Growth or change oriented when we're talking to people. And if you have a growth mindset, you're kind of setting the tone for a growth mindset in your department, which is great. I am a supervisor who is okay with people making mistakes. I also don't have people who are driving large vehicles that could kill other people. So it's all relative. There are some mistakes that are tolerable and some that are not, right? And so you guys have to make those decisions for yourself, and generally be really clear and constructive when you're giving feedback if you can. Acknowledging any positives, like, I know you really tried. It didn't hit the mark, but I appreciate your effort. Specific changes that they can make, like behaviorally specific changes, specific timelines that you are going to reevaluate, and then actually circle back to people. So if you're going to say, like, what I need you to do is to be on time, 90% of the time over the next month, and we'll talk about it when you get there, when we get to the month timeline, and then you circle back and say, nice work, you were on time 92% of the time. That's helpful. Collaborative solution finding, when you're trying to, sometimes we go into problem situations with a solution in mind already, and sometimes there's other solutions and alternatives that will work. And so I think even asking, like, what do you think would work in this situation? Like, what do I do? And seeing if you guys can come up with some kind of solution together. Putting things in writing, always a good idea to go back so there's no misunderstandings. And if there is, like, if they get the email that says, okay, here's what we agreed on, and that's not what they heard, tell them to come back and let's go over it again. And then following up later about progress toward goals, which I kind of alluded to already. That consistent feedback is regular and in time and timely, so that they can make corrections. And then lastly, when building trust, say what you mean what you say. Those really do help for building trust. Do you guys have any other tricks that you do with your employees to make sure that communication is happening in the way that is most effective? Is it different for younger people?
Maybe not
in
so
your
much
experience?
tricks, but I do with my team I try to establish psychological safety,
Yeah,
which allows them to, come to me and say what they need to without fear of retribution. And so I think that, in our one-on-ones really opens up the communication and puts us on the same level. And they look at me as someone who they can communicate and say what they say, because as we all know, sometimes it's hard to say that if
yeah.
you're, because you're thinking of what the person might think of you. And so from the very get-go, I establish that. And with that, when I establish that, it seems that our one-on-ones and just general communication in the office and with each other is a lot more, on the same page and clear, and it actually makes for a great environment, just knowing that we all can have that with each
And
other.
Nick, are you doing that through body language, eye
Uh,
contact, the
that's
words you
usually through
say?
the words I say, and then the one-on-ones that I have every month with them. In the first one-on-one, I just let them know, hey, this is what I'm trying to establish. This is what it is, because sometimes they never heard of it or didn't hear of it in that form. So
Yeah,
I just let them know what it is, and what, and really it's up to them to provide what they're free with. But
yeah.
everything's on the table, and they're it's up to them if they don't want to talk about certain things, and just kind of turn that back to them. How you said, let them determine their PTO schedule or whatever, like, or their goals, their in-home goals or work-home goals, kind of the same thing.
Thanks. Maria Soto?
Yeah. So mine's pretty similar to that. But my office is a free zone. So there's no judgment. They can
Nice.
say do, if they curse, say whatever, if they're upset. They know that it stays in here and nothing leaves my office. I also have a very large glass jar of chocolate sitting on the corner of my desk. And people look at it and they'll reach and grab one, and it seems to calm people down. I think chocolate is a good, like, I don't know what it does, but it calms people down, and then they start to talk more freely and calm down and not be so upset. I've had that candy jar for 20 years now. And as soon as I put it in, I could tell the difference in conversations I had with people that were like very tense and upset. It just changed like the mood instantaneously. And I don't eat chocolate, and it sits on the corner of my desk, and I have to fill it probably every 2 weeks. So it
Love
works
it.
for me.
Yeah, there's no way I could have chocolate in my office. We'd have to meet someplace else. But that's a
I
great
do
idea.
I do something very similar to what Maria, was it Mary or Maria? Sorry.
It's
Uh,
Maria.
okay, Maria Soto said, I do have snacks. I have like cup of noodles because our guys like the cup of noodles. And so I have those kind of things. I have crackers, and then a coffee machine. And I purposely set in my area, we have our parking, we have a big area for parking staff, but I I purposely set myself in the direction of where everyone has to walk by. Not that I want to
Wow.
be on set in the center of the situations, but I want it to be available because when I was across the hall, people would not come over here because they would be like, well, I don't want to bother you because you're over there. And so being more available to them, um, still trying to get them to go to their immediate supervisor, but still being available. I felt like that helped them. And then also, like she said, having something that they it takes their mind off of the situation.
Yeah.
That I think that really helped. And then I love your passion for parking, Maria.
I know, it's cute. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm like, I have this parking garage in my that I had since I was a little girl and that we used to play with, and it's like
Like the
Fisher
little
Price.
people one?
Yes, I
Oh,
have that in
I
my
love
garage.
that garage. Oh my
So
God.
I
I
had that
have
one
that.
too.
Yeah,
It
and
has
so
like
I
the
have
little elevator that you
yeah,
like
Yes, that you
crank.
wind up.
that
The
dings.
car with the
Yeah.
two holes. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of my parking garages, the elevator sounds like that garage, like "Rrrr." I'm like but anyway, I have that on a table, and then I have some strategy games that have little cars and stuff like that that I have on a table. And so when I see an officer come in that they may have got hands on, or someone went hands on them, not that they go hands on, or something that like that happens, which happens more often than we realize, or just a upset customer that came in is yelling, because we also do speed violations here in parking. So, when they have a hard day or something's happening, then I'll debrief them in the office, and I'll just get them to play a game with me while they're talking. And I think that really helps them, get past that point. But
Yeah,
in
nice.
just regular things that are happening during the day, I think you have to kind of search out how people learn, how people process, so that way you can meet them where they're at. And then always any kind of instruction that I give, I always say I'm standing for questions, which I'm not just telling you what to do, but I also want you to ask me what to do, because what I'm saying may not be what you understood. And so if there's any follow-up questions, this is the time that I give them to say, hey, well, this is so you mean this, or so if I do that, then the next step would be this. And I have a variety of different ages in my area, and so it's critical that we give everyone their space and know how they learn, how they receive information, and how they process the information. And I just think that that's the most critical thing. And then if you're going to ask, you listen. You don't ask someone what's wrong or how's it going if you're not willing to listen. Just don't do it. Just stop yourself,
Yeah.
and don't do it, because if you're not willing to listen, then they think that you heard them and you didn't hear them because you were just being nice, and saying, hey, how's it going? And then you're not listening, then they feel like, well, what do you mean? Oh, have a good day. Well, I just told you my dog died and you didn't even care,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
kind of situation.
Good. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to give you a word about mental health. Similar to effectively managing the workplace environment, employees' mental health can be positively impacted by lots of different lifestyle management and self-care strategies, time management, organizational skills, adequate sleep and nutrition, regular exercise, relaxation, recreation, social support, interaction, managing one's environment. There are some things that we can help with in the workplace, like having healthy snacks, at meetings instead of donuts, making sure deadlines don't keep people up late at night, time management or organizational skills training, offering, to have meetings that are outside or walking can help, helping manage environments by like having some kind of organizational strategy for, my space so everything is not so cluttered. And that's just you supporting a culture that supports a healthy lifestyle. And this might not be sufficient. Like there's lots of stuff that kind of floats outside the realm of, addressable by lifestyle. And so this would be like a policy that PTO for mental health appointments is okay. Sick days, maybe we have a mental health day once a month that you can take. Instead of a sick day, maybe you encourage people to seek workplace accommodations if that's possible in your organization, if they're struggling with something like ADHD or depression or anxiety that's getting in their way of being able to do their job. If you get a letter from your organizational disability resource office, trying to implement those accommodations without judgment. It's really hard. I've worked with a lot of, kids in my time with ADHD where teachers were like, but they're so smart, they're just lazy. And it's really like a brain disorder, and so just having some maybe knowledge about that disorder, if you don't have it already, just seeking it, and some understanding that that stuff is real and it can impact jobs, and just doing the best you can with accommodations. If someone still can't do the job with accommodations, that's a whole nother issue. But really trying them out is important. Being really supportive of positive language around DEI, like preferred names and pronouns, can just be a sign of respect. And I know that, there's a lot of controversy about this. My perspective is it doesn't cost me anything to do. And I feel like it's really a kind and compassionate step toward showing people that I care about them. And language about mental health, like there's a lot of pejorative language around mental health, like crazy and all sorts of forms of that, you know what I'm saying. And then just remembering, from a trauma-informed care perspective, which maybe Darby, having Heather do a short trauma-informed care training for you guys at some point would be a good idea, Heather Reist. It's just really about understanding that not everybody's from the same background and that we all carry stuff, and just trying to manage our own stuff and be sensitive of other people's stuff potentially is a kind of an important stance toward customer service and management generally. And then just thinking about an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of remediation, honestly. And so if you have policies in place or just like your own practices that can keep the drama lower, it will help in the long run. I want to talk about managing ourselves, and I can skip this, but I don't want to because it's important and you guys need to know this too. This is the last of my circles. Managing operations and people can be very stressful. Let's not kid ourselves. Managers have much more successful outcomes when they have healthy self-esteem, persistence, and perseverance to get things done, which requires patience, because if you work in an organization like mine, things move at the speed of molasses sometimes, and I have to be super patient and just stay on top of it. Resilience, recovering from setbacks, bouncing back. Adaptability, changing with changes, you know, being able to kind of absorb changes and make them work. Ability to focus when it's needed, cut out distractions. Self-awareness, what's going on with me? How am I coming across to people? What do I need to do for myself right now? And then self-regulation skills to manage that stress. Stress is a part of life, and our bodies are designed to move in and out of stress. So we function sort of with our parasympathetic nervous system. We're just functioning, going along, resting and digesting, and then we hit a stressor and our sympathetic nervous system kicks in and we have a stress response, and then typically we can try to do something to get rid of that stressor, and then the stress response goes away and we go back to baseline. That's how we're designed, right? Like, and that works if you're fighting off saber-toothed tigers or whatever. In our environment, it's very hard to fight or flee from a lot of our stressors. Like, if an employee comes in yelling, you can't punch them in the face. You can't run away from them. And so that stress doesn't necessarily get expended, right? Like, the stress hormones are still there, and that kind of builds up over the day. So if you're not taking care of yourself, it'll be like, oh, that's stressor, oh, another stressor, oh, another stressor, and now I'm up here. And it's just going to take a little bit to make me blow at that point, right? And so, and it really, I mean, that varies by who you are and what your history is and what your family genetics are like. Some people get triggered super fast. Some people, it takes a long time to trigger them. But unmanaged stress throughout the day has short-term and long-term potential consequences for lots of parts of your physiology and your relationships and your happiness, your sleep, your immune system, your cardiovascular function, your weight, all of it. Like serotonin function, all of it. Long-term stress, like long-term effects of stress are pretty severe if we don't take care of them. Short-term effects can include sleep deprivation, anxiety and irritation, you know, fights with our spouses, compromised immune system, get more likely to get a virus or a bacteria that takes over your body because it's not able to fight it off. And so just going to say, like, stress management is not something we blow off. We take it seriously. You have 2 minutes a couple of times a day, or 5 minutes 3 times a day to mitigate stress that has built up throughout the day, okay? So that lifestyle stuff is important, but we need other strategies to kind of manage stress throughout the day. One of those is breathing, and here is why it works. When you breathe into your belly, and I don't mean like breathing that makes your shoulders go up, not that kind of breathing, into your belly. So when you breathe in, it's like you're breathing into a balloon in your abdomen and you fill it up. And when you breathe out, all that air goes out. Okay? That stress center in your brain that I talked about, and you can keep breathing while I'm talking, that stress center, your amygdala, is actually connected to, through a series of connections, the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve runs throughout your body. Kind of runs all the way through. And there is a part of your vagus nerve that is right below your diaphragm. And when you breathe into your belly and out of your belly, the vagus nerve is stimulated, and that actually acts to turn off your amygdala, right? So it lowers your stress reaction. So if you can do belly breaths for 2 to 5 minutes and turn off that stress response, then you are back to baseline. So you might have had like morning, you're like here, oh, irritation, now I'm up here. I do my belly breaths, I'm back to real baseline. And I have capacity to take on more stuff without losing it, okay? In the military, they teach box breathing, which is breathing in for 4 counts, holding it for 4 counts, breathing out for 4 counts, holding that for 4 counts. So it's 4, 4, 4, 4, okay? Has lots of positive effects on us as well, not just decreasing stress response, cortisol, blood pressure, and heart rate, which all respond to stress. It turns on our parasympathetic nervous system, positively impacts our immune function, because when you're stressed, your body is like moves all your immune system function to like your skin in case you puncture it, try to keep bacteria out, things like that, instead of trying to fight off viruses and other systemic issues that you're dealing with. Potential like maybe cancer cells or whatever you got going on. It increases melatonin levels, which means you get better sleep, increases your recovery time from exercise, and can positively impact anxiety and depression. And that's just breathing. We have lots of other tricks up our sleeves. Ideas, change your perspective. If you're sitting down, stand up. Move to a different room if you're stressed. Take a walk, look in nature, talk to yourself in the third person. There's some research to show that gives us some distance from our stressors and relieves stress a little bit. Look at something different. If you're looking at a report that's really making you angry, look at something else. Do a different task. Phone a friend. Complain. Connect. I am stressed. I need help. Listen to music or nature sounds. Smell something pleasant. Like we have this really good, Paula has this really good lotion, like a vanilla lotion up on her desk. And when I'm stressed, I go up there and just put lotion on my hands. Hug it out safely with somebody who is okay with that. Chew gum. There's a lot of research that shows that chewing gum can actually stimulate the brain in ways that relaxes you. Drink tea. Also, tea drinkers have better capacity for stress. Laugh. Laugh it out. Short term, it lowers your stress response. Long term, it improves your immune function, improves your pain response, improves your mood. Maybe that's comics, maybe it's memes, maybe it's jokes, comedy, humor in the moment, laughter yoga. If you guys haven't heard of it, it's crazy. You can look it up on YouTube. Maybe you are into relaxation, mindfulness, yoga. Maybe you're a meditator. Maybe you should be a meditator. Not everybody's cut out for meditation, but the literature is vast on the positive impacts of meditation for most people. Some people do not respond well to it, and that's okay. We have other things you can do. One is called progressive muscle relaxation training, where you tense a part of your body, like maybe your feet and your shins and your thighs, and you hold that tension for 5 seconds, and then you release it, and you breathe deeply, and then you tense them again and hold it, release, and breathe. And then you move on to the next part. And I usually I'll do feet, shins, and thighs, one section, your butt, your torso, and your lower back, another section, fists, like hands, arms, and shoulders to my ears, and then scrunch your face up and hold that for 5 seconds. So that's how I break it down usually. And for people who have a hard time with meditation or just deep breathing because they're too anxious, that seems to be a really good alternative. And you can find that. There's a really cool app called the Insight Timer app that has 240,000 free meditations and exercises for breathing and all kinds of things. And that's free, and they don't send you ads or anything. It's kind of fun. Thanks, Tracy. It was nice to meet you virtually. All right, we're done here. So my closing thoughts. Roles of managers. Managing daily operations is the easy part. Managing people is much tougher. A little kindness, compassion, effective communication, and clear boundaries can go a long way for helping you be a better manager. But one of our greatest tools is our ability to manage our own stuff that's going on so that we can have the capacity to take on stressors, have the capacity for kindness, have the capacity to manage irritants and problems as they come up, have the capacity for compassion for other people, and show up every day. Really show up. Any other questions or comments? Thanks so much. I don't want to go over your time, but if you have anything you want to talk about, I'm here.
Thank you, Heather. That was fantastic information that we could all take things from. I was sitting here and the dog decided to, well, try to jump. I said no, but dogs are a good thing. If you have stressors, get a dog.
For sure. Yeah.
Because they don't care if you're stressed out, and petting them is such a great thing.
I don't care at all.
No, thank you so much for your time, and everybody that is participating. The next event we have coming up will be our parking garage gingerbread decorating competition in December. So get your thinking caps on and get started, because people bring it to this competition.
Sounds amazing. I'm sadly going to miss it.
It's pretty spectacular. So
Thanks, you guys.
thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye, everybody. Have a good day.